All right, well, it's 10:30 a.m. Lakeisha, I think I will hand it over to you to kick us off.
Yeah, we've got quite the numbers here. We got 18 participants. So good morning,
Nice.
everyone, and welcome to the Halifax Business Awards submission workshop. It's great to be here in virtual space. We had one a couple weeks ago, but we were in person. So it's great to mix things up a little bit. So thanks for being here today. So thanks for making the time. And congratulations to all of you for being 2026 nominees. My name is Lakishma Bailey, and I'm manager for business markets here in Halifax at RBC. And joining me today online is Megan Colburn. And Megan is virtual as well. So I'm not sure where she is, but I see her name popping up there. So RBC, many of you may know, but we are a longtime supporter of business owners and sponsor of the Halifax Business Awards program. And we're delighted to be able to host you today. Before we jump into today's agenda, I want to commend you on the importance of your contribution as a business owner and leaders to our city and our province. Small businesses are the heart of our economy. I'm sure you've heard that many times over, and that is so true. Your hard work, resilience, and dedication keep moving us forward. So I want to take a moment again to just say thanks for all the hard work that you do and the help that you give to your communities and to our community at our economy, I mean, at large. If you have ever attended the Halifax Business Awards ceremony, you know that it's thrilling and it's exciting. Lots of fun the night can be, and finalists have the chance to be promoted and celebrated in front of your peers and the most high-profile business event really in our city, right? It's the one to look out for every year, and so as you get there, before the awards comes the creation of an award-winning application. And so, like everything else, we got to put some work into it. And the application process is thorough, and it can be daunting for some business owners. But what's great is that even completing the application offers you a lot of value. Right. And so many nominees have told us that they have found working on the application extremely worthwhile from a business planning perspective, because it helps you to, you know, one, you can repurpose it for future use. And it's really a great investment of time that you're spending in your business, really looking at the progress that you've made, the work that you've put in over the years, and to be able to demonstrate that, through the application, it's really, really great value for you. And so that brings us to the reason why we're here today for this event. We started these workshops back in 2022 to support applicants on their journey to being Halifax Business Award finalists and to help put your best foot forward and showcase the incredible work that you're doing. So, with that said, we're going to kick off this session with Emma Mechensky from the chamber who will walk you through how to submit the application. So Emma, I'm going to pass it over to you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Lakeisha. Hi, everybody. Nice to see you all. I see lots of familiar faces. So I'm Emma. I am communications manager here with the Halifax Chamber. Apologies for our weird video situation. We have one of those owls, so you're seeing a little bit of everybody. So you can also see Denise over here, my colleague, who will be managing the finalists during the fall. So first of all, congratulations. Again, echoing Lakeisha's comments. This is a really fun process to be part of, and we're so excited you could all be here. So I'm going to walk you through how the awards works exactly, a bit of the background. We'll go through the website where you can fill out your submission, and then I'll hand it back to Lakeishma. So the Business Awards have been around for quite a long time. We're celebrating 27 years this year, which is pretty exciting. And we tried to highlight the kind of best and brightest in the business community. And of course, that's why you have all been nominated. So We have 7 categories that you can be entered in to win, and each of the 7 categories will have 5 finalists in each category. And how we start all of that is by the nomination. So you've all been nominated, you're in. If you have some friends or some other folks in the community that you think, wow, they should really be part of this as well, nominations will be open until end of August. So please feel free to go in and keep nominating. We'd love to see as big a group as possible in there, even though it makes it harder for our judges. After the nomination is complete, you're going to receive an email from our Awardify software. That's the system that we use to manage the awards process. It often can get stuck in junk mail, so if you didn't receive it or you're still looking for it, you just let me know and we'll resend that to you. But you can also go directly to the Awardify website and create an account. I'll show you that in a minute. So once we accept our nomination, we're into phase 2, which is submissions. So this is what the judges will review and rank to decide those 35 finalists. So you want to make sure you're filling it out nice and fully, and that's what Amanda, our facilitator, will talk about later today. So I won't talk too much about the submission process, but what I do encourage you to do is go in there and take a look nice and early, because there's not a million questions. There's 5 or 6 questions per category. But what tends to happen is we wait until the deadline, and then you thought, oh, I should have put more work into this, or I should have taken more time to think about this. And then you feel like you're rushing a little bit. So get in there nice and early, take a look at the questions, start to think about them. You've got the summer to fill it out, but don't start it the week before, because the week before, Denise and I are going to have hundreds of calls and questions from people, and we can't answer them all. So better to get your questions in nice and early rather than waiting till that last moment. So once your submission is complete, you're feeling good about it, you have some additional opportunities in there to add in 2 reference letters and to add in a page of accolades. These are totally optional and they're not scored, but it does help to round out your submission. So the judges, if maybe they thought one of your questions was lacking a little bit, or they thought, oh, they could have filled that out a little more fully, maybe that reference letter can support you in really rounding out the application and telling the full story of yourself as a business leader or as an organization. So once you have filled out your submission, you're going to click that save and submit button. So an important step that can sometimes be mixed, just making sure everything is finalized. Once you've saved it, once you've fully clicked the submit button, it goes to the judges and we can't make any more changes to it. If you forgot something really important and it's still before the deadline, please feel free to reach out to the chamber team and we'll try and go in and make that change for you. But once judging opens, there's no more changes after that. They have the submissions, they're reviewing everything. It fully goes to the judging committee. And how that works is the judges receive all the submissions, which is usually over 100 submissions. So that's why we have Amanda here today to help you learn how to really stand out in your submission, because they are reviewing quite a few. The judges have 2 full weeks to review your submissions. They rank each question. So I believe it's out of 10. So each question has 10 potential full points. And again, you have those reference letters and those accolades to kind of round that out. If there's one question where you're like, ah, this would probably sound better coming from someone else, then you have that reference letter option. Once that is complete, we review all the scores and the judging committee will have ranked the top 5 in each category. So there's one additional meeting with the judges just to make sure we don't have any doubles, because one of the rules is you can only apply for 1 category per year, unless you're applying for the business leader category, and then you're welcome to apply for business leader and 1 additional category. But otherwise, just 1 per category just helps to keep the variety nice and strong in the awards. So from there, we will inform all the finalists, usually in the first week of October. They'll get a direct email from Denise announcing that they're finalists. And this is when a lot of the fun begins. So Denise will be your publicist for a few months. We will promote you on social media. We will have you participating in a photo shoot, in a video shoot. There's lots of fun to come in the fall. And then in January is when we have the big gala. So we have a reception for the finalists, the sponsors, and the judges the week before the gala. Just a great chance to get to know each of you and each other in a more intimate setting. And then the following week, we will have the big gala. And if you've been to our chamber awards before, you may have noticed that we love a theme. So we do go pretty hard on the theme. That'll be announced in the fall, but that will influence kind of how the photo shoot, the video shoot, and everything goes. And the finalists tend to have a lot of fun with the theme, maybe like dressing up to match it, and there's all those options as well. So again, just a really fun process, and then nobody finds out who the winners are until the actual night of the awards gala. I think I said this in the last session. Sometimes the finalists try to get it out of us, and let me tell you, we forget almost immediately. So you won't get it out of us. There's only about two of us who will know who the winners are, and then the judging committee as well. And we are locked up like vaults because we have forgotten who they are, because we've looked at a lot of submissions. Will, go ahead. I see your hand up.
So you wouldn't know ahead of time if you're a winner or not, basically.
No, everyone will find out night of, so nobody knows ahead of time who the winners are. And we keep it like that because it's a really fun part of the evening. But I will say winning is fun, of course, getting up on stage, getting your trophy. The really fun and engaging part of this process is being a finalist. That's where the fun is. This is when you get to know all the other businesses and leaders in Halifax. This is when you get to find out what's going on in the city, and also you get treated like a celebrity and VIPs like you all are for several months, thanks to Denise and the chamber team. So that is the really fun part, but yes, you won't find out until night of. Okay, I am going to, and feel free to use like the hand signal thing too. I just got a lot of screens open here, but I'm going to share my screen and just run through the Awardify software really quickly, and then I will hand it off to the other speakers. All right. Okay, here we are. So welcome to Awardify. Most of you have probably already been on the website if you have been nominated. So here's the big giant button. Nominations are open. You can head here. Again, if you had a friend or someone else you wanted to be involved in this with you, this is where you'll fill it out. We submit a nomination. You put in your own information here. Here's where you select the category. If you don't know which category you are in, or you don't feel like the category you've been nominated in aligns with what you want to be part of in the awards, no problem at all. You can switch that. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. So you can pick any category here, and then you can fill in your information. If you don't want anyone to know who is nominating that person, feel free to click the anonymous button. Once you click submit, this is when the email goes to their inboxes and says, hey, you've been nominated, click here to accept your submission. So this is the front end. There's a lot of great resources on this website as well. We've got a whole history here about the awards. We have a little more about the judging process that we'll hear about from Andrew in a little bit. This explains exactly what the judges are looking for. So this is how they rank. This is what they're looking for in your submission. So there's a lot of great info in here. Highly recommend giving that a read through before you get to your submission. I won't read it all right now. And then another important thing to read before submitting is the eligibility criteria. So all the important dates are in here. All of the details around eligibility are in here. There's a lot of overlap in each one, but there's a couple that have kind of special ones, including innovative and export. So just take a little look at that before you fill out. And then moving on, the back end of the system, once you're ready, you've read all the important tabs here, we're going to come into creating an account, which is just in the top corner here. I'm already signed in, but normally this box says sign in/register right at the top corner here. You can sign in right here, and this is what you'll see in the back end. So here, no matter what, you can select whichever category you'd like. If you've been nominated as a small business, but you'd like to enter in innovative, no problem. We're going to click this little drop down. We're going to click small business, or what did I say? Innovative business of the year. And then again, we have these tabs here. If you can't remember which one it is, you can just review those. You're going to enter in the name of your company, or if you're applying as business leader, please enter your full name in here. And then we get started. Testing. And then I'll just show you this one quickly. If it opens, there we are. So this is what it looks like in terms of the submission background. You're going to put your name up here. There's some important business information we'll need. Again, if we can't remember what innovative is, you just drop this down and it will show you the criteria and the requirements for innovative. The questions are right at the top here if you wanted to copy and paste these into a Word document and work on it outside of your submission, feel free to do that. And then we just scroll down. And there is also a maximum of words. So Amanda will talk about how to maximize your words in that amount. Just scrolling through quickly so you can see at the bottom here as well. This is where you can add your reference letters in. So you can have 2 reference letters and 1 page of accolades. So if you've been featured in the news or if you won an award or there's a picture you'd like to share of the new office you're talking about, this is where you can pop that in. We have a self-identification question at the very bottom. And that's about it. So that is the front end. There's one other website I wanted to show you, which is on the Chamber's website. So this is where we have a lot of like history of the awards. You just go to halifaxchamber.com/awards. We'll send that out afterwards. There's a link to get to nominate. And then there's a little bit, there's a bit of a feature from our last awards, or sorry, 2 awards ago. So we had a retro video arcade game theme. So you can see a bit of the fun we have with the event. And then there's also a list of the past winners and finalists here in case you were looking for some inspiration or wanted to see a bit more about what those companies were up to. You have that option as well. Okay, that is the bulk of it for me, I believe, but I'll leave it open for questions for a moment and then I'll hand it back to Lakishma.
Looking for hands. Any questions?
There
You can
wasn't any-
just open your mic if you do have any questions.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right, Lakishma, I'll hand
I
it
don't
back.
see any questions there, but I think for sure Emma is always available to provide you with any support that you may need. So you can always reach out to Emma for any help that you may need here. So thank you very much, Emma. So now it's time to turn our attention to best practices and tips and tricks from the perspective of the judging committee. And so each year, hundreds of our applications that are submitted, they go through a rigorous eligibility review by the Halifax Chamber. And so further to which they are judged and scored by a diverse and respected panel of judges. The Halifax Business Awards Judging Committee is looking for deserving businesses that represents Halifax ideals of hard work and innovation. The committee is comprised of 6 leaders from our business community, often changing from year to year. The completed submissions are reviewed by our judges and scored on a predetermined criteria rubric. The top scores on the rubric are chosen as our 35 finalists. So, who are these judges? The esteemed committee represents a spectrum of industries, and each year they invest countless of hours of their personal time to score and rank each nominee and determine who deserves to win each category of the award. Joining us today from this committee is Andrew DeFreitas, who has been a member of the judging committee for 4 years now. So he's very experienced at this. Andrew is the executive director of Atlantic Connect Logistics and has an extensive background in marine, truck, and rail supply chain. Today, he will share some insider tips and best practices for completing a standout application. And so, Andrew, I'm going to pass it over to you.
All right. I'm really looking forward to this. This is the first time I'm actually getting a chance to talk to some of the candidates that are coming up through this process. But I think this is an amendment that we've made that's really important because I think that anything that we can do as judges to help give you a peek inside of our brain on what's happening when we're judging and what we're kind of looking for and the things that we can help in terms of going through the process. I'm sorry that I missed the first part of this. I was actually on a Teams call, so if I was judging me, I'd start off with a 0 on that part, so please excuse that, but I'm glad to be here. When we're judging, it's very important. I'm going to just step back for a second and talk a little bit about the judging committee. The judging committee is made up of a diverse group for a very important reason. Because whenever you look at an image, there's the classic 6'9", somebody looks at the 6, and somebody looks at the 9, and it's a matter of perspective. So in order to get a real holistic judging, we wanted to make sure that we had a diverse judging panel. Also diverse in not only background, thought, but also experience, approach to business. I'm kind of a one. I've been part of the chamber myself for a number of years. I've been on the board of directors. I started my introduction into business was the regular way through the workforce, and then just always questioning, saying, you know what, I think things could be done differently. I think things could be done better. Not always agreeing with my regular role in the old school. And I know that a lot, you're all entrepreneurs, so you have that same thing. It's that challenge to how do we do things better. So as a judge, you know, judges look for different things, but I always look for how are you challenging the existing system? That's really important. The one thing that I can assure you that every year it's different. Business challenges are different. The work environment is different. And what's going to help us succeed is having that adaptability. So I would encourage you, when you look at your business, look at what you're doing, to include, tell your story. We want to know who you are. We want to understand how you view the challenges in your industry. Think about that when how you're answering the question, and then it really gets to the point. We see a lot of nominees, and I tell you, all the nominees, they're almost all very well deserving. Sometimes the challenges, they don't really articulate very well what they're trying to do in their business. So anything that you can do to help us understand you, understand your journey, what you're trying to accomplish. And again, you know, it's always nice. There's huge temptation now. And I'll tell you, a huge temptation to use some of the tools to tell your story. And I'll go out and I'll specifically call out AI is a very powerful tool. It can help refine your words, but I would encourage you to always make sure that you're putting some of your soul in the story. It gets really hard to discern some of the differences when everything's coming back using the same comments. But we're not the same. Don't hesitate to put yourself in it. Don't hesitate to put your business. Tell us some of the things. We have a rubric that we're using. We have a panel with others who can see around corners in different ways. But the more that you can tell us about how you value your business and what is important to you, what does success look like for you? You'll see questions in there that maybe your vision of success is not definition. Maybe there's success that's not just dollars and cents. And it's very tempting when you're evaluating business to just look at dollar and cents. That's one of the reasons why we have a larger committee, so people can really understand the value proposition. The value proposition of someone doing to help in the community, to bring new skill sets in it, to try to bring new ways of thinking about ways of doing business. And you know what? Sometimes even what's new is old coming back in a new way and doing something really well there. So don't hesitate to say what you're doing well, talk about the points, talk about what you're doing a little differently. And you know what? If you can get testimonies as well, we're trying as judges to be fair to everyone. We stick with what's in the paper. And it really hurts me when I know there's more to a story in a business that's just not on that paper. So when you're going around getting your nominations, those nominations can come from customers as well too, that are just coming through the door, just saying, what do you like about it? Sometimes you can get laser focused on what your vision means to you and your business, but sometimes your customers are connecting in different ways, and that's really valuable. That's really important. Don't hesitate to get some of that insight, bring it in and try to include it. So, you know, that's where I'm coming from. Those are some of the things that I really, really respond to as a judge. And like they said, there's 6 judges. Some of the other judges do respond to different things as well there too. I do respond to some of that struggle that you've had, because I know there's a struggle. We talked about one of the businesses that we run, but I've done multiple. Some of them have not been successful. Some of them have been a little more successful, but that's part of business. Again, tell that story. We want to know it. We want to understand where you're trying to go. We want to be part of your vision, because I tell you, when we're at that event, I'm clapping and cheering just as loud for every nominee, because I feel a piece of me is on the stage with you, because I know your story. That's what really helps resonate with us, because again, you're judges. We're not AI. We're not computers. We're real people too. So remember, you're writing it for real people. All right. That's kind of the points that I was going to hammer on. I don't believe there's any other judges here today, but if there's any questions, I'm certainly willing to take those as well too.
Thank you so much, Andrew. I was taking some notes. So I did make a note, share your story, your passion, and your vision. Bring in certain customer testimonials if you do have them, right? To share the impact that your business is having, and then also taking it back to community. What's the community impact as well? So lots of great nuggets in there. So thank you so much, Andrew. I remember from the last workshop, one thing that I remember we discussed was timelines as well. Like, don't wait until last minute to go ahead and do your submission or to work through your nomination, because then you run into delays and challenges, and then you maybe submit an application that you're not really proud of. So give yourself time to work on that application and put your best foot forward. So next, we're so lucky to have with us a previous Halifax Business Awards winner, and Shannon Boland Musu. Shannon is owner of One Day Affair Wedding and Event Design, an event company specializing in wedding and event planning. And she was the 2026 Small Business of the Year winner. And so thank you for joining us, Shannon, and to share your experience being a finalist and winner, and to offer some tips. So, with that being said, I mean, I'm super lucky to be in a space with Shannon twice over a 2 weeks period. So, hi, Shannon, good to see you again. Uh, and so, I'm gonna pass it over to Shannon to talk about, just her journey and what that was like for her.
Thanks so much, everybody. Yeah, it was quite the journey, and it's not something you want to wait last minute and put off. It's certainly complex. To me, it's worthwhile going through the process, whether you're nominated and you succeed to the end or you don't. I really believe it. It really shows a lot about yourself and your company. It gave me the opportunity to really dive into the last 10 years of what life has been like in my eyes, to showcase what it is that we do and the things that are important in our business. So, it's not something you want to hold off on. You definitely want to start early in the process. There's a lot of material that you have to cover. And like they had said earlier, being true to yourself is going to be so important, and not putting just anything out there for yourself. So, my journey, I've been in business for over 10 years, well, just 10 years coming up. Never thought I'd ever be where I'm at today. And, we talk about failures and success. I've had a failed business. In the past, I think I even talked about it. I went through COVID in one of the toughest business industries that we could go through. So only in year 3 of my business, we were the first to close and the last to open. So, we didn't do gatherings. We didn't do big events. That was my business. My business was weddings and events. And it was pretty scary. But we survived, and I've since day one, I have invested my whole life and my business into brick and mortar. I believed in it so much that I knew that was game changing for me, and I've obviously grown. And so I had to fight tooth and nail to really, get that business and keep the momentum going through some of the toughest time we've had. So, those sort of things and the resilience and the strength that you show to the judges is going to be very important. It's not numbers necessarily. Yes, we had great numbers coming into this. I've never been nominated before for this, so I don't know if I would have probably thought about it before that. But, you win all the other little awards, but this was something really special. And being in the wedding and event industry for me, also was a first, I believe, in the sense of I'm not sure who before me has won, but I know that our industry is never really recognized a lot, because I'm not sure why, but it's just obviously we work typically not in large groups. Most of the wedding industry professionals that I know don't have huge teams. I'm probably one of the few smaller businesses that have a significant team and a process and multiple facets of our business. So, starting with just weddings, we then moved into, after COVID, we opened a small venue because we saw the shift and we knew that obviously working through your business, you're going to see changes and it's how you adapt. So we opened our venue, which has been amazing and wonderful. And then we also recognize that we're a very seasonal business. And, I was eating all my profits through the winter. So I decided to branch out into the corporate world. And that has been an amazing venture. So I have a couple of different businesses on top of One Day Fair, all still associated under the banner of One Day Fair. For me, I think it was the honesty and the integrity that I put into my application. I believe wholeheartedly I've come to this place in my life because of who I am, because I work hard, but really because I'm a kind person and I give back a lot to the community. So I think part of that is, all of the things that you're going to go through in the list of questions, look deep down inside and say, okay, who am I and what is my business really about and what am I representing? It's not, again, about the revenue and the finances and all that. Because at the end of the day, there's a lot of businesses that could apply for this. I really believe what I saw during my year of winning was a powerhouse. It was like the most amazing stories, deep rooted from childhood, some from, just recently, but they were very deep rooted stories. And I think that's what drove, the table beside me had two winners. I was winning. And I think there was a majority of women that actually won, which was kind of really cool. But I do believe that it's got to come from within. And when you find that, it just rolls. It just literally was so easy to go through the journey. The finances are probably the worst part for me because I'm not a finance person. I freaking hate it. So it is one of those things. But when you're talking about your business, because it's your business, it's your passion. It's what you give every day to. And if you can exude that into your own words, yes, AI helps, but you do have to put the effort in to really make it your own. I do believe that. So, I could go on and on. I could probably fill this whole hour. But I like to talk. I think you know that. So I don't know if you have any questions. If if there was anything else, I listing your accolades is important. It could be simple things. I did do the referrals. I used corporate business. I used wedding. I used every part of where I would have had a touch on one of those businesses. So I did do that. We are also a very diverse group here. So I will say that as well. I just became I'm just almost finished my rainbow registry. I also have working through our immigration. We have someone on our staff that we're working through. So, I do believe that being diverse is very important in our industry, and we're very inclusive as well. So, I think as far as I'm concerned, I had a really rounded business when I applied, and I was ready to apply. I just didn't apply because someone nominated me. I really had to look at it and say, do I do this now or do I do it later? Am I ready for this? And sometimes we're not just ready. Just because you're nominated doesn't mean you have to apply, as far as I'm concerned. I think you have to know down deep, this is my time. And that was me. So that's my story.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon. I'm looking to see, I see BG Preston said, congratulations. Sounds like your award was well deserved. So really great. Before I let you go, Shannon, I'm just going to ask you one question. Tell us about that moment that you heard your business name being the winner for 2026. What was that feeling for you?
I think you need to play the video. I have, if you don't know, and you're not on my LinkedIn corporate affair, I think it's on One Day Fair as well. Anybody wants to see it. I honestly, I have never been through, and the whole experience itself was absolutely mind-blowing. I have never been through anything in my life that sets someone up. No matter if I won or not, I was already a winner. the camaraderie that I made and the friendships I've made from the people that were nominated with me were incredible. We still maintain contact today. And also, I think too, like, you're sitting around a table with a bunch of your family, but they're your coworkers, but they're family to me. And, we're on edge. It's like I feel like I'm at the Oscars. It's the only way I could really put it into, and people were saying, why are you crying? I'm like, are you kidding me? I was crying. My husband was crying. My staff were crying. We get up there and it's such an emotional moment that I will absolutely never, ever forget, ever. And I keep my little award right here. So I keep petting it.
I love it. I love it. Oh, thank you so much, Shannon, for sharing your story. Really inspired by it, and just want to wish you the best as you continue your journey, and the best for your business, right? So, really an inspiration. Thank you so much. And then we're gonna move on now to our next segment. But really, really great, such a high. And now we're gonna turn our direction to to Rogers, to Amanda Rogers, Amanda was also a winner. So Amanda was a 2024 Small Business of the Year finalist. And she's the founder and CEO of iPlume Writing Inc., an award-winning writing company specializing in grants and funding strategies and proposals. And so that organization was founded back in 2017, and they operate 100% remotely and works with clients across Canada and internationally. And so Amanda is going to present to us today on the writing process. We've heard a lot about, what judges are looking for. Shannon just talked to us about just her process of getting her application together and how it felt. And so now Amanda Rogers is going to walk us through, some tips and best practices for getting a really great application submission. So Amanda, over to you.
Thank you so much, Lakishma. I'm just going to share my screen here. Okay, so I just want to welcome everyone here today and congratulations again on being nominated for the Halifax Business Awards. This is such a huge accomplishment and you should all be very, very proud. Before I dive into the writing, I do want to acknowledge that we are gathered in Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We recognize the treaties of peace and friendship and the ongoing responsibility to uphold relationships rooted in mutual respect, accountability, and coexistence. We also honor African Nova Scotians who have lived on and cared for this land for more than 400 years. We recognize the historic and ongoing impacts of displacement, segregation, environmental racism, and systemic inequities that continue to shape access to opportunity and resources in this province. Before we jump into today's session on writing, I just want to give you a bit of a background on who I am. My name is Amanda Rogers, and I'm the founder and CEO of iPlume Writing. We were founded in 2017. We're a Nova Scotia-based company, and we work with businesses and organizations across Canada and internationally. We specialize in grants and funding strategy, procurement and proposals, strategic writing, and professional editing. But at the core of everything we do is helping people communicate their value clearly and effectively. So whether that's a grant application, a proposal, or an awards application, the challenge is often the same. You know the impact you're making, but putting that into words can be difficult. Over the years, I've written and reviewed dozens of award submissions for clients across Canada as well as globally. And I've had the opportunity to see works, what doesn't, and what helps applications stand out. In fact, I've worked with clients who have gone on to win major business awards. I've also worked with organizations that consistently achieve success year after year because they learned how to tell their story effectively. Perhaps most importantly, I've been through this process myself. I've personally been a finalist for the Halifax Business Awards, Entrepreneur of the Year, and other business awards. I've experienced the nomination process, the application process, the anticipation of waiting for results, and the excitement of being recognized. Through that experience, I've learned that great submissions aren't about fancy writing or buzzwords. They're about clearly communicating the value you're already creating so that the judges can recognize that. And that's exactly what we're going to focus on today. Before we jump into writing your submission, let's talk about why this process matters. As business owners, we're constantly focused on what's next. The next client, the next opportunity, the next challenge. We rarely stop and reflect on what we've already accomplished. This application gives you an opportunity to do that. It challenges you to think about how your business has grown, what challenges you've overcome, what impact you created, what makes your business unique, and why your work matters. And interestingly, those are the same things the judges want to understand. They want to know your story. They want to see evidence of growth. They want to understand the impact you're making. When I completed my own Halifax Business Awards application, I realized there were accomplishments I hadn't thought about in years. Things that had become just normal to me. That's one of the reasons these applications can be so powerful. They force you to stop and recognize the progress you've already made. So let's shift perspectives for a moment. One of the biggest misconceptions I see is that people assume judges already know who they are. Maybe your business has been around for years. Maybe you've built an incredible reputation. Maybe your customers rave about your work and you're well known in your industry. And all of that is great. But judges can only score what they see in your submission. They're not reviewing your website. They're not scrolling through your LinkedIn page. They're not researching your company. They're reviewing the information you've provided in front of them. That means your job isn't to impress the judges. Your job is to help them understand. Help them understand who you are, what makes you different, what you've accomplished, and why it matters. The strongest submissions make it easy for judges to award points. Because when judges are reading or sometimes hundreds of applications, clarity always wins, not complexity or buzzwords or academic or fancy writing, clarity. And the good news is that judges aren't looking for anything mysterious or hidden. Regardless of the category, they're really trying to answer a few simple questions about your business. Who are you? What makes you different? What have you achieved? And why does that matter? That's it. Every question in the application is helping judges answer one or more of those questions. When they ask about innovation, trying to understand what makes you different. When they ask about growth, they're looking for evidence of achievement. When they ask about community involvement, they're looking for impact. Regardless of the category, these themes show up again and again. The strongest submissions make those answers obvious. They don't make judges search for the information. They put it front and center. And if you can answer these 4 questions clearly, throughout your application, you're already ahead of many applicants because most businesses spend a lot of time describing what they do. The strongest submissions help judges understand who they are, what they've accomplished, and why it matters. But answering these 4 questions obviously isn't enough. Some applications are still far more memorable than others. So what separates a good submission from a great one? Well, imagine you've spent an entire day reviewing submissions. You've read 50, 100, 200. What would make one stand out? In my experience, it's usually one of 3 things: a memorable story, a surprising result, a meaningful impact. The strongest applications contain all 3. Regardless of the category, the businesses that rise to the top consistently humanize the story, demonstrate growth, and show impact. Let's look at each one. First, they humanize the story. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that businesses write about themselves the way they write website copy. They describe their services, their products, and what they do. But judges aren't trying to buy from you. They're trying to understand you. Compare these 2 statements. The first one tells me what the company does. The second tells me who they helped, what problem existed, what they did, why it mattered. The second one creates a picture in my mind, and that's important because people remember stories. Stories create emotional connection. Evidence creates credibility. Strong submissions have both. So whenever possible, connect your work to people, challenges, opportunities, and problems solved. That's what makes your submission memorable. The second thing winning submissions do is demonstrate growth. Every category is looking for growth in some form. It may be revenue growth, team, client, market growth, or community impact growth. Judges want evidence that you're moving forward. The phrase, "we've been successful," doesn't actually tell them anything. Successful compared to how much? Over what period? Now, this example, the second example, gives context, and it shows measurable progress. And measurable progress builds credibility. One of my favorite questions to ask clients is, what's different today than it was 3 years ago? That's often where the strongest evidence comes from. Growth doesn't have to be dramatic, it just has to be clear. And finally, impact. This is where many otherwise strong applications lose points because they stop too soon. They tell judges what they did, but they never explain what changed because of it. For example, we launched a mentorship program. Okay, that's an activity, but why does it matter? Who benefited? What changed? What happened because that program existed? Now compare that to, we launched a mentorship program that supported 75 entrepreneurs, resulting in 18 new business launches, and 32 new jobs. Now we're talking about impact. Because at the end of the day, judges aren't scoring activities. They're scoring outcomes, results, and impact. The question is, How do you know if you've actually explained the impact? One of my favorite techniques is incredibly simple. It's the so what test. I'm sure you've heard of it. Every time you make a statement, ask yourself, so what? What changed? Who benefited? Why should the judges care? The stronger your answer to those questions, the stronger your application becomes. For example, we expanded into Ontario. That's great. So what? Well, that expansion increased revenue by 35%. Excellent. So what? It allowed us to hire 4 additional employees in Halifax. Okay, now we're getting somewhere. So what? It strengthened our local economy and increased our ability to support Nova Scotia clients. Now we've arrived at impact. Most applications stop too early. They tell judges what happened. The strongest applicants explained why it mattered. So whenever you're reviewing your application, look for statements that describe activities, accomplishments, or milestones, and ask yourself, so what? Keep asking until you've reached the impact, because that's what judges are ultimately trying to understand. And once you understand storytelling, growth, and impact, the next challenge becomes applying those concepts to your own business. Because people don't really struggle with writing, they struggle with identifying the right stories, the right accomplishments, the right evidence and impact to write about in the first place. So I've created a simple worksheet to help you get to the heart of what the judges are asking. One of the biggest mistakes I see is that people open the application and immediately start typing. Or worse, they open ChatGPT and ask it to write the application for them. The strongest submissions don't start with writing. They start with thinking. Before you can tell your story, you need to identify it. Before you can demonstrate growth, you need to gather that evidence. And before you can show impact, you need to understand what changed because of your work. That's exactly what this worksheet is designed to help you do. It pulls together the raw material for your submission, your accomplishments, milestones, evidence, metrics, testimonials, impact, the things that make your business memorable. Think of this as your brainstorming document. Your goal is to not write polished answers. Your goal is to get the information out of your head and onto paper. Because once you've done that, writing the application becomes much easier. And if you decide to use AI, you'll get much better results. So let's talk about where AI can fit into this process. So many of you already use AI in your business. And if you choose to use AI, it can be a useful tool. But I think a lot of people use it at the wrong stage. If there's one piece of advice I want you to remember, it's this. Don't ask AI to tell your story before you've told it yourself, which is why I'm including the strongest award submissions sound like real people. They reflect your experiences, your challenges, your accomplishments, values, and your personality. Judges are reading hundreds of submissions. Generic answers stand out for the wrong reasons. Authentic answers stand out for the right reasons. As a professional writer, long before AI came onto the scene, I never start with AI. I start with the story, the examples, accomplishments, challenges, and results. Then I might use AI to tighten wording, identify gaps, challenge my thinking, or review my work. But the substance still has to come from me, because no AI tool knows my business better than I do. And one of my favorite ways to use AI is actually as a reviewer. Let me show you what I mean. Once you've completed your application, you can upload your award category, the judging criteria, and your draft submission. Then you can ask AI to review it like a judge. This is incredibly valuable because it helps identify blind spots before the judges see them. It can tell you where you're being vague, where you need stronger evidence, where you've missed an opportunity to showcase impact, where you haven't fully answered the question. Remember, judges don't know your business. They can only score what you've included in the application. A review like this helps you see your submission through the eyes of a judging panel. And in my experience, that's often far more valuable than asking AI to write the response in the first place. So at the beginning of this session, I said this process is about more than winning an award. It's about understanding your story, recognizing your impact, and communicating your value. Everything we've discussed comes back to these 5 key takeaways. First, tell a memorable story. Second, demonstrate growth with evidence. Don't just judge as you've been successful, show them. Third, focus on impact, not activity. Don't stop at what you did, explain what changed because of it. Fourth, make it easy for judges to understand why you stand out. Don't make them connect the dots. Connect them yourself. And finally, use AI as a tool, not as a replacement for your voice. The strongest submissions aren't usually the ones with the fancy. They're the ones that clearly communicate who you are, what you've achieved, and why it matters. At the end of the day, judges are trying to just answer those 4 questions. Who are you? What makes you different? What have you achieved? And why does it matter? If your application answers those questions clearly and convincingly, you're already in a strong position. Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with one final thought. One of the things I've learned through my own experience as a business owner is that we're often our own toughest critics. We're focused on what's next, the next client, opportunity, challenge. We don't spend nearly enough time recognizing what we've already accomplished. That's why I think the Halifax Business Awards are so valuable. Yes, winning is exciting. Yes, becoming a finalist is exciting. But the real value starts long before the judges ever read your application. The opportunity to pause, reflect, and take stock of everything you've built, the challenges you've overcome, the growth you've achieved, the people you've helped, the impact you've created. So as you work through your application, don't be afraid to tell your story. Share your accomplishments, growth, and impact. Because if you don't tell that story, no one else can tell it for you. Thank you for being here. I genuinely hope to see many of you as finalists this year, and I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Awesome. Thanks for that amazing presentation, Amanda. That was so great. I think what we're going to do now is just open it up for any questions that the nominees may have here, and the Halifax Chamber team will help us with answering some of those questions as well. So any questions that you may have?
I have a question. This is Will Brewer. Hi, Amanda. It's good to see you again. I know we've talked before. So I just wrote in the note section that I'm the town crier for Halifax, and I have used ChatGPT as an AI tool, and however it does work if you tell it exactly what to do.
Exactly. It's so great to see you too, Will.
Mhm.
Yeah, ChatGPT is great as an assistant, and it will only work well as the information you provide it. So it's excellent to hear that you're using that properly, Will.
Thank you.
Awesome. Any more questions? I think, oh, there's a question. Oh, Emma did answer. The recording will be shared. Someone is asking if the recording will be shared. So yes, she will be sending that out by email. So you'll all receive this recording. Any further questions? But please know if you do have any questions, Emma is your point of contact. And so, you can always reach out to Emma. So if there are no more questions for us here, we're gonna move to close this session. I don't see any hands, I don't hear any more voices, and I
Great
don't
job,
see
everyone.
any more questions in the chat. But in closing, I just want to give thanks to Emma, Andrew, Shannon, and Amanda for sharing their insights with us today. A reminder that nominations closes September 4th and submissions close September 11th. If you have any additional questions, you can contact Emma, as I said earlier. And she'll be supporting you every step of the way. So Emma is your go-to person here. And from myself, we from RBC, we're here to offer advice for you and your business as you navigate your growth journey as well. And on behalf of Halifax Chamber and on behalf of RBC, I just want to say thank you to everyone for attending today's session. I've learned a lot. I'm going to be walking away and I'm going to be asking, so what? When I review a presentation, when I review a submission, like I'm gonna get to the heart of it. And I walked away with that tip for today. So thank you so much, Amanda, for sharing that. And we wish all of you the best on your journey on becoming a award winner, or you may just be a finalist. You never know, right? But really great way for you to put your foot forward. And so I think there's another session that may be coming up, Emma.
Yes, we're gonna have another virtual session on July 15th.
Okay, perfect. So there's another session. If you didn't get everything, then you can also come again. But really great to see everyone here. Thank you so much for your time and your investment in yourself and your business. So have a great day and see you again soon. Take care, everyone.
Thank
Thanks so much,
you.
everyone. I'll send out Amanda's presentation and worksheet after this too. So have a great rest of your day and we will see you next time. Thanks. Thanks, Amanda. Bye.
Everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
See
Take
ya.
care.
Bye.